What happens when a couple of knife-loving bros get together with a case of beer and decide that they're bored enough and buzzed enough to design a knife? I mean, how hard could it be, right? Apparently not that hard at all, at least in the case of Todd Knife Tool's magnificent Bestech Shodan. Just fucking look at it. This absolutely stunning frame lock was on my why am I so poor wish list ever since the first moment I saw a picture of it. I knew I needed it. I lusted for it. I just wanted to put my hands all the fuck over it. I'd almost given up hope that the day would ever come when I might be able to purchase one for myself. But then, thanks to COVID-19, Uncle Sam dumped $1,200 in my bank account, and I would be lying to you if I said it took my sausage fingers longer than 5 minutes to tear through the checkout process as soon as I saw that relief money come through. 3 miserably long days later, this arrived, and I knew immediately I had made the right decision. Uncle Sam's money was most definitely not wasted. The looks alone are out of this world. It's as if the TKT bros had traveled into the future, ran a quick Google search for cool-ass knives, took some screenshots, and traveled back to the present and got right to work. From every angle, the Shodan is a stunner. Available in a handful of materials and colorways, mine in that mind-blowing shred carbon fiber on the show side scale, and the raw stone-washed titanium on the lock bar side. It's also available with titanium all around, both raw and coated, and with a quick search at most online retailers, you'll be able to find a few options with small aesthetic changes as far as hardware, color, and blade finish. And they're all just as impressive looking as this one. The angles, the edges, the milling and the drilling, the level of detail and attention put into each and every square inch of this knife is mind-blowing. I mean, the raw materials used in and of themselves are impressive enough in the raw virgin form, but they went and cranked the milling work up to 11 to create something truly spectacular. Just look at that pocket clip. I mean, yeah, sure, they could have used some Bestech generic clip they had laying around, but oh no, that wouldn't even come close to cutting it. And the looks aside, the pocket clip works, doing its job better than most basic, purpose-made pocket clips on a lot of my knives, which is one hell of an achievement by its own merit. And the level of detail and quality on the show side of the pivot, just the pivot, the TKT logo is done so well, it's so clean. Like, why the fuck does a pivot need to look this good? I don't get it. The design and the looks aside, the machining and the level of care put into the manufacturing process by Bestech is brain-rattling. Now, to be fair, I've never met a Bestech I didn't love, but the fact that they can pull something like this off and still undercut most Wies and Rayots and Reichs as far as pricing goes is applause-worthy, to say the least. And more good news, the ergos have not been lost in all of that decorative design work. I've been hard-pressed to find an uncomfortable way to hold or handle this knife. The big finger choil on the blade just hugs your index finger like an old friend, and the tapering of the scales outward from the pivot works well to fill every nook and cranny of your palm. And unless you're white-knuckle squeezing it, you really never notice any of those jagged edges and grooves along the handles. It all just disappears in your hand, which, in a way, is a little sad. If only my hand was transparent so I could use this knife while admiring its beauty. I can only hope that in the future where this knife came from, technology may someday grant me that wish. Now, if you can't tell, this isn't exactly a small knife, coming in at an open length of nearly 8 3/4 inches overall, so it will fill even the largest hands. But in my relatively tiny mitts, it's as comfortable as they come. As if all that isn't reason enough for me to be overly smitten with the Shodan, let us move on to the action, which is, well, flawless. The big beautiful blade is running on ceramic bearings, and the fidgetability factor on this knife seems to have also been turned up to 11. You've got plenty of options in the way of actuation on this thing. The flipper tab and detent are tuned perfectly, and that big groove and hole on the blade aren't just for looks. Oh no! Thumb flicks and reverse flicks are an absolute breeze. And opening is perfectly smooth and endlessly reliable, no matter how you decide to go about it. Then you go to close it, and no surprise here, but it is buttery smooth and as drop shutty as they come. The lock bar is comfortable and easy to access, and as soon as the blade gets past that little detent ball, she's coming down quick. Once you're done fidgeting, and you decide maybe you should try to cut something with your new knife from the distant future, you will quickly realize that under all of that stunning design and machine work is an extremely well-built cutting tool made to obliterate whatever ends up on the receiving end of that beautiful 3.85-inch blade done up in S35VN. The extremely tall full-flat grind comes to an exceptionally fine edge, and it is terrifyingly sharp out of the box. And it has been hair-splittingly sharp since the moment I pulled it out of its cushy little zipper pouch. And as shiny as that satin finish S35VN may look, I've been using and abusing this knife ever since it arrived. And it's held up swimmingly. The overall build quality and heftiness of the Shodan really gives me an endless amount of faith in its ability to handle any task I may throw at it. All in all, if it isn't already abundantly clear, I absolutely adore this thing. Nearly everything about it checks all of my boxes. Even the price, which might be the only snag for some, as far as whether or not to pick this one up. From most retailers, the Shodan comes in between $230 and $260, but when I compare it to other similar high-end, extremely well-made knives from other Chinese OEMs, it's hard to argue that price tag. Compared to this year's smash hit Wii Mini Buster, which is edging up to $300, or TKT's one of their other designs, the Roxy 4, which was also made by Wii, was priced around $250, $260. $230 doesn't sound so bad. And if you're lucky enough, like me, you can get one on sale from some retailers for just a hair over $200. In closing, the bros at Todd Knife Tool and the machinists at Bestech are a match made in knife heaven, and the Shodan, in my opinion, is one hell of an achievement. I really cannot wait to see what this dream team cooks up next. So, if you've been shopping around in that $200 to $250 price range, and you've been thinking to yourself, I kinda want a knife that is standard issue for the US Space Force in the year 2147, stop shopping, throw a Shodan in the cart, and check the fuck out. You can thank me later. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.